how to go about it. And I know like you're not supposed to read it verbatim. So I'll try to put it as much in my own words. I mean, within the context, right?
Yeah.
Is that the idea? Okay.
Yeah,
like
the PowerPoint is good to act as sort of a structure for the workshop, but when trainers are so hung up on like click and, you know, explaining the PowerPoint rather than really connecting with the coaches, we'd rather spend more time, you know, talking about your experiences and sharing these principles with the coaches and getting us as the coaches to share our experience rather than clicking through a PowerPoint. Because, you know, if Jen wanted you to just click through a PowerPoint, she would just sell the online workshop to the partners. And so the partners are spending money to get a live person there. That we want you to interact with the coaches. We want you to kind of, you know, sometimes the answers they give can kind of make you know, spark something else. So, but, you know, the PowerPoint's there to just give structure so that all the workshops are sort of hitting the same topics. But you can feel free, you know, don't feel like you have to read every single bullet point on every single slide.
Yeah. And the goal is about 15 to 20 minutes, correct?
Yeah, I usually say as a good structure of a whole full workshop, if you spend about 15 to 20 minutes on each section, so it's the introduction, and each of the 3 principles, and then the closing, that's about 90 minutes for a full workshop. So that, you know, that gives you wiggle room in the beginning, wiggle room for questions at the end. You know, I'm not going to cut you off at exactly 20 minutes or anything, but it's just a good structure.
Gotcha.
So whenever you're ready, we're here. I think Ruben's here too. So whenever you're ready, you can jump in.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull this up. All right. Okay. Well, I'll just go ahead and jump in then. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Caydrick Bloomquist. I am a coach here in the Colorado Springs area for the District 20. I also am a strength and conditioning coach at a rehabilitation and sports performance gym. And I'm here to talk about, oh man, I'm already nervous, but I'm just trying to like not read the slide, but look at the PowerPoints. I wrote some notes down, but as we come in, like if you guys can look at the slide behind me, can you text or just so you get credit for being here, text the number 650-763-2405. Include the following: the pound in the number 12345, no space after that pound. It's very, very important. Your first, last name, and your email address so you can get credit for being at this workshop. Next slide. So just like that, has anybody been to a PCA workshop before? Raise your hand, or raise your hand if you are a first-time coach, or you've been a coach for 3 or more years, or 10 or more years. Raise your hand. All right, looks like we got some experienced coaches in the building. So has anybody heard of the PCA?
Logo, somebody's field, that's about it.
All right, well, let me tell you a little bit more about what we strive for at the PCA. So who is PCA? We are an organization of 80,000 plus coaches, and we've trained over 3.3 million youth, and we have over 2,500 live workshops and over 1 million visits to our development zone online. We were started in Stanford University in 1998. And I kind of jump back and forth there. But next slide. So what does the phrase positive coaching mean? Next slide. Our goal here is to, PCA is to create a positive atmosphere that supports best possible performance for young athletes. And our motto is better people, better athletes, better people. We will discuss the philosophies of coaching, principles, and specific tools on how to do that here coming up. We understand that coaching approach emphasizing positivity is the one that gets the best out of our athletes. Advanced slide. So we have over 25 years of research that shows positive coaching in the superior style to that of negativity. We have a quote up here on the slide from Dr. Barbara Fredrickson. She is on our PCA National Advisory Board, and she's a psychology and professor at the University of North Carolina. And just to read part of her quote, there's a perception that the best way to get what you want out of employees or players is by negativity or threats, but negativity doesn't work as well as positivity. I kind of lost my slide, dang it.
That's okay.
I'm kind of scrolling on my, okay. And the positive emotions of a leader is more contagious than anyone else's. So next slide. And studies, after studies have shown, like the article in Sports Illustration of Alex Wolf, shows that it's an outdated style. And the verbal and physical aggressive coaching is something that we see here at the Positive Coaching Alliance to be something that we are striving to bring the positivity in. Next slide. So elite coaches know this, and they have shown that it brings results. And we'll go to the next slide. So we just have a few examples, the slide behind me here, just kind of to see that there are elite players and elite coaches. I mean, some big names that are on our advisory board, and these are what they want for their kids, their grandchildren, and to bring this to all the youth across this nation. Next slide. And what do we know about the effects of negativity? So world-renowned sports psychologists like Charlie Marr and Ken Visa tell us that negativity simply, it just impedes our performance. And it's something that when we look at the evidence, slide, oh wait, around, I skipped one. Impedes performance. All right, so raise your hand if you agree with the question on the slide. Does positive work better? Yes, Ruben. Oh, he's just raising his hand and agrees. Well, good, I agree too. And does negativity distract? If you agree.
Yeah.
So why is there so much negativity in sports to begin with? And somebody would like to answer?
I think from the parent.
What now? I'm sorry, it broke up a little bit.
That's okay. I think a lot of it comes from the parents. I think the parents are, they put a lot of money into this. They put a lot of emotional time and investment into it, and they want their kids to be superstars. And anything less than that, they blame on the coach, and they'll let you know it right away. And I think that's most of the negativity I hear comes from parents.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I'll speak as a first-time coach. So this is my first season. I kind of came in at the middle of last year to be an assistant coach. And I guess I didn't feel very welcomed as a new coach. I feel like there's a lot of seasoned coaches around me. And they're kind of doing their own thing. And I guess I feel, I don't know, kind of lost. And I'm just here because my kids' team didn't have a coach. So, I just trying to fill in the gap. So I guess that part's hard, is that I feel like there's a big gap between me and some of my peers.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
So welcome.
Yeah. Ruben, did you have any things that you wanted to share?
We all want to win, and not everybody's going to win every time. So there's built-in frustration to almost every athletic competition, because not everybody gets what they set out for, and I think we have a hard time accepting that.
Yeah, and I think from my standpoint, being a young coach, or not as seasoned as a lot of people here, I've seen definitely there's been just a lack of coach training and proven coaching methods. So next slide. So here at the PCA, our vision is to use that sports psychology research and the best practices of to create great coaches. And like I said, we believe better athletes, better people. And let me be clear, positive coaching is about athletes. Oh, That was not what I meant to say. Okay, so like I said, we believe, we know that sports is a great place for this because of the endless teachable moments that provide and strategies equip our coaches and athletes and parents and leaders with principles and tools based on research and best practices, so we can make the most and great opportunities sports provide. Next slide. All right. So here's a few bullet points. We have research-based coaching model to guide you. We have practice tools. We have ongoing support. We have book as resources. And we have our talking points. And like I discussed earlier, we have our PCA development zone on our website where everybody can find all this information. So the question on the slide, what makes a great youth sports experience for kids? I would like you guys to just take a few minutes or a few seconds here to turn to the person next to you and discuss that question and discuss.
Yeah.
All right. Next slide. So I need to let you guys talk about it, right? Or
you can just forget.
Okay. All right. So how would you answer this question? Anybody?
I think experiencing exciting competition makes a great experience. Getting to.
Good. I like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have 4 kids, and we just finished up the spring lacrosse season, and my one daughter had a winning season and my other daughter didn't. And I can definitely tell you the one that had the winning season had a better youth sports experience.
Yeah.
So I think winning has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I agree. Jane, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think some of these kids are really just here to make friends. So I think that's where I'm looking at it is, some of these kids are walking away and they don't necessarily care if it's a win or loss, but did they make a friend to have on the side?
It's a lot of that connectedness. So we look at the next slide, and what do we see here at the PCA as a meaningful athlete experience? It is that feeling connected to the teammates, believing that they can improve, and feeling proud about playing with integrity. And so that's just something that here we want kids to be able to come back next year. So you're right, having fun and winning can be a fun part of that as well. But we want to make sure we win at the right time. So what would you say if your players get these 3 principles, what might happen?
I think they'll play better.
Yeah.
I think they'll want to come back next year. They won't quit.
They'll probably enjoy it more. Yeah. Like come back next year because they enjoyed it.
Yes. So the question is, how do we do it? And we have the PCA's coaching model. And the 3 of these things that sports, in fact, directly addresses one of the 3. So they each work for each other. We have the connected, filling the emotional tank, improving the elm tree of mastery, and integrity, which is honoring the game. Now, let's hear from one of our positive coaching advocates, Herm Edwards. We're going to play a quick little video, and then we'll come back. So, video played. All right. And then, next slide. All right. So when I say go, turn to your neighbor and ask, what would you like to have people say about you as a coach?
Okay, Ruben, my neighbor. I guess I would want I would want the parents and the kids to both kind of respect me or want to spend time around me. I guess I would want to be liked.
Yeah. Kelly?
I would want him to say that I was a hard worker, that I was a good competitor, and that I was a good teacher. Help make them better.
I like that. Yeah, improve.
Yeah, I want to say that the kid that I really cared about them is people, not just how they performed on the field, but I really, was genuinely interested in how they were doing.
Yeah, and I agree. I believe having that impact on young kids at that young age is what's going to keep them coming back to those sports. So we'll go to the next slide. So the PCA's model of coaching, the double goal coach. We, not only strive to win, but we are here to teach life lessons. And we are in this culture of a win at all cost mentality. But we also know that in order to get the most out of our youth, we have to bring out things like teamwork, discipline, work ethic, and leadership. And we want to make sure that kids, when they look back at this experience, can say that that they were better for it. Like, we don't want, to say, student athlete, where you can go to, like I said, a college and just be the star player, but not have to be the star student. And that's what we strive for in the PCA model. Okay. The beauty of a double goal coach is that two goals support each other. The more kids compete and strive to win, the more these life lessons opportunities come to the surface. And as kids absorb these life lessons, the more they win. But occasionally the two goals will collide. When this happens, the double goal coach always chooses teaching life lessons over winning. Can anyone give me an example where two goals could collide in your sport?
I had a situation this year with a 10-year-old girl who was the most aggressive player on my team. She was the best one. It was lacrosse. She could catch and throw a ball and shoot like she was in high school. And she had a terrible attitude. And she would scream at the other girls on the team if they dropped the ball. She would yell at the official. If the official made a bad call, she would yell at them. And I was constantly having to take her out of the game just to teach her a lesson that she couldn't talk like that. Anytime she yelled at another player, I'd take her out of the game instantly. And when I took her out of the game, we'd start losing. And then I'd put her back in, and then she would do it again, and then I'd take her out again. And there were so many times where it was a close game, and I'd hear her yell at one of the players, or yell something at the goalie. This is the beginning of the season. And I had to take her out, and it killed me, because sometimes I knew, like, if she was just in there for a couple more minutes, we would probably win the game. But I had to yank her, and that was tough.
Yeah, sounds tough.
I don't think I have that same slide. The crossover one.
If you animate it, if you put it in PowerPoint and you're actually running it through mode, it'll do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe that's my problem. Sorry about that. I was confused.
That's okay.
So now let's get into the principles of the workshop and what we're going to talk about: filling the emotional tank, the Elm Treatment Mastery, and honoring the game. And is this where I stop?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh my gosh. Sorry about that, guys. I know that was rough. Oh man, I'm sweating. I had like things, like I wrote down like transition things, and I totally did not deliver on those. And I watched all those videos, and I tried to get, I don't know. This is not an easy thing.
It is not easy to do. And let me tell you, the reason that we do this is because this is harder to do than when you're out in front of coaches you don't know.
Yeah, and I agree.
The other thing, we've been doing this long enough now. Ruben and I have seen people that this is why we do the first demo, is really for you. It's not for us to mark down and say, oh, Cade got an A or a B or a C on that.
That was like a
for you to realize that, you know, you just have to get it out. You have to just try it. You have to realize what, you know, what makes you, what are you comfortable with? And
well, it's just the verbiage too. It's how to implement the PCA stuff and kind of that seamless conversation.
Right. And the more you do it, it's like the more you practice, the more the words are going to come. And I mean, we've had people do these demos and say like the Positive Coaching Association. And we're like, you know, at least you got to get some of the words right. So
I got that right, I hope.
You did. You got that right. But, you know, I think for you, and I don't know you very well other than just things I've heard and just meeting you for a couple minutes, but I think for you, the key is going to be to not let the slides impede your personality. You know, I really didn't feel like this was your personality. I felt like you were just struggling to be this PCA trainer where, and you know, Jen probably knows you outside of this, and I don't know if this was your personality coming out.
No, it was
hard no.
Right. Or this having you try to be like perfect PCA trainer, but we would rather see your personality than the perfect PCA trainer.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, right, I have a lot of great things. You did a lot well. You did a lot really well. And I have some suggestions for you too. But most of the suggestions are, for me, I want to hear your story. I want to hear what brought you here. Why in the world would you choose to go out and tell coaches how to coach?
Well, I'll tell you, I can tell you right now, I actually I had an interesting experience just Wednesday, actually, up here. I had a parent meeting. And it really solidified why I want to do what I'm doing. And it was actually kind of along the lines of a parent was only focused on just their kid, you know, in the, you know, in the track season for pole vault. That's what I was coaching. And I had a parent actually film me while I was coaching, like very like sneaky. I mean, he was like watching me while I coached on the sideline to try to a got you moment, like because of some situation that I was talking to another coach, because I was coaching between all the districts, like I was coaching like multiple different schools, and this parent was upset that I was talking to these other kids, like these other athletes and these other coaches, and he didn't know that I was supposed to be. And he video recorded me and, you know, and blamed his son's, I don't know, something that since I was coaching all these other kids that I had to focus just on his kid because he didn't know I was supposed to be with all these kids. And really, it was one of those moments where I've never been put in a situation where I've been filmed. And I felt at a public high school track meet. And I really, it was just that parent, like the understanding of like, what are you doing this for? Like, what is the purpose? And that was really something, like I said, I'm a coach's son. So I grew up around, you know, like a great positive environment when it came to coaching. Like my father, you know, he does an unbelievable job. And it was something that for me, you know, I've never been around, and I want to at least be able to tell parents of a similar type in a controlled setting that, you know, these situations, I mean, it's just not healthy for the kids because now this kid is upset. I mean, the athlete himself, and he doesn't want to perform. He doesn't want to compete. And it just becomes this big mess. So I don't know. I'm still stewing over that one a little bit, but I mean, I agree. I want to at least put my personality, but I felt really just kind of confided to the slides. It felt like that.
Yeah.
Can I make a drop in real quick?
Yeah. So Jen, why don't you give, I mean, if you were, you know, give Cade some advice that you would have. What did you like about what he did? And then, you know, for the next time, what do you think are some things he could work on?
Yeah, I think from almost from an academic standpoint, you were spot on. You know, you definitely went back to the slides and you related the talking point to the actual slide and the quotes, and you definitely stayed on track there. I think almost to a detriment. I think as everybody is kind of. But I did hear you say one comment of, you know, I know I'm a little bit younger, or I don't have the experience that maybe some of you coaches or do. And what I might suggest is flipping that, because I would wholeheartedly disagree. I feel that you personally have had more time with children than probably most people in that room, working with village programs, working with athletics. Like, you've actually had more face time than most coaches, because they all have full-time jobs and they're coaching on the side.
Right.
You worked, why? That was your full-time job.
Yeah, that was all day.
Let them know, like, guys, I know what kids are saying. I was with them all day, every day for X amount of years.
Yeah.
They're out of their minds crazy sometimes. Sometimes they are just like, this is how we got to work with them. So relating your real experience, I think what you did you told them who you are on paper today, but you didn't paint a picture of how you got to those places on paper, because you're a powerful leader for children. I've seen it.
Yeah.
You're a conversationalist. That's how you grabbed my attention. So I think that would be a great benefit to you. Don't look at your age as a detriment.
No.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. I definitely felt like the slide. I mean, maybe I have the slides right here in front of me. That doesn't help. I mean, and that was the problem that I was trying to, like I said, going into it, was trying to make sure that I got, like I said, within the PCA, guidelines. But yeah, I agree. I really, like, because I do give speeches. I give a lot of different speeches. I mean, that's my everyday job. And that's the one thing is, like, if I feel like I have to look at something, then I just get one track minded. And I think that's what you're saying is, like, just got to practice this stuff, like, because it's the timing, it's the all that.
Yeah. So Ruben had to go. He put, I don't know if you can see the speech bubble popped up for a little bit, but Ruben said,
I saw it, but it went away.
Yeah, he said, number one, the first practice is the hardest one, and it's already over. You're done, so that's good. Lose the notes script.
Yeah.
Second. And then he said, you'll be better the next time when you just go with the slides and what's in your head, not the notes in the script. So
okay. Yeah.
I think that's good advice. So yeah, I may just wrap. Some of the things I just have too are suggestions on things that you can, pull in a little bit more of. I think your conversational tone comes through really well. So I can tell that you're a good conversationalist. So think of this workshop as an ongoing conversation with coaches. And as long as you think about it as, you are a coach, again, it was your job, as Jen said. We all work full time. We are volunteers. We might be thrown in, just like Jen said, like, I just decided to coach because they couldn't get anybody else to do it. The first time I ever coached as a parent, I didn't even know how to play soccer. I was like, yeah, I play field hockey. Sure, I can be a soccer coach. Like, I had no clue. So the fact that you did coaching as your job does give you a ton of credibility. And I have gone in and done great workshops for 90 football coaches. And they're looking at me like, lady, you know nothing about football. And the cool thing about our workshops is I don't need to know anything about football. I'm the expert in the room on how to motivate kids.
Yeah.
Pretty basic principles and some tools that you can tell me how to use these tools for football.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I think you almost have an advantage being younger than a lot of the coaches, but you're going to find now, I find too, I've had coaches at my workshops that are like in their 20s. A lot of college kids are now coaching volunteer and rec league.
Yeah.
There's a lot of younger and younger coaches coming up, and they
I agree. Well, I think I just needed to hear you say, I know how to motivate kids.
Yeah.
Because it's beyond just whatever specific sport. And for me, that's what it's always been about. Like I said, when I was doing the sports stuff at YMCA in Boulder Valley, like when we had a different sports every week, like I know nothing about lacrosse, but but
I'm sure.
Yeah. But I agree. I appreciate the feedback, because I was nervous in the idea of trying to be, honest to God, I've never been good with following a, just like a script, like you were saying, being a conversationalist. But I really wanted to make sure I hit on the points and just, I don't know, maybe I was looking at too much of trying to say what was written.
Yeah. And that's something common. We've often gone back and forth between how to train people to do this, because we want you to know all the material in your head so that you can not know all the material and spit it back. We want you to know it so that you can know what to talk about, how to work it into your own story and then how to communicate it. If you don't know all the material well, then it's going to be a mess. It's going to be all over the place. So
what do you
know it well enough that you can skip over some things or go faster in some parts and slower in some parts, but you kind of have to know it all first.
I know, and I've been watching Amy Manson a lot, and I'm just trying to like to do what she does.
Be like Amy. That's my hashtag.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. Like, you know, and I don't know if you know my relationship with Amy at all, Kelly, but like she's pretty much my Colorado mom out here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, her and Pat are like, and their kids, like that's my family out here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's why when Jen, like, I don't know, it's funny because Amy was telling me, he's like, do you remember that Jen girl? And I was like, yeah. Like, I knew she wasn't working at the YMCA. I mean, at that point. And she's like, do you think she would be a good hire? And I was like, yeah.
Hire her.
Yeah, and that was the funny part about it. I was like, I don't know, it was a small world. It really was, in the aspect of kind of how it all like played out. And so, I don't know. I thank you for just being here, Jen. That meant a lot. Like,
oh, absolutely. I'm so excited to watch this process. I mean, I'd love to be a trainer one day. So if I could be helpful in your process, it's happy to be here. And I talked to Kelly in an email too. Like, if you want to come up or we can meet halfway, you want to practice with me, I'll be down in the Springs from every once in a while because we want some more partners down there too. So like, I think the FaceTime would be great, and I'm happy to give the feedback. Just as, you know, a former leader in a sports organization, I'll give you how I felt about it.
I make a trip up to Boulder a lot. Like usually, I try to a couple times, maybe once or twice a month. But yeah, I don't mind the Springs, to be honest with you. They need it more than anything. And just from my, like I said, this past season for track and field, I was blown away. And it wasn't just that one experience I was talking about. It was, you know, just there's a lot of just childish stuff. And yeah, like.
So let me give you a couple suggestions that I just noticed to pick up on. And this is recorded, so you don't have to write anything down. You can just watch this later. But I think right off the bat, you need to connect us to you.
Okay.
So, you know, tell them why you're here, whether it's a story like you just said, whether it's a little bit about your past experience as an athlete or your experience as a coach. What made you want to do this? And, you know, where are you coming from? What is your sports background? And I know the partner will read it. As Jen said, it's going to be written down and they're going to read it, but it's nice to hear where your heart is right off the bat.
Yeah.
So that we're not sitting there like, who is this guy? And what is he doing? Gotcha. And that connects us to you. One of the best stories, I think, that I tell in the beginning of my workshops is how much I screwed up when I first started coaching and how many mistakes I made that I thought I was, you know, I was a division I athlete in 2 different sports. Of course I can coach. And I learned that was not the case at all. Yeah. So sometimes that's the best story. So the people in the room are like, oh, wait, she's real. She's human. She's made a lot of mistakes. When you're going through the introduction is probably the hardest part of the workshop because it's kind of half sales pitch, half ability, like it's, and personally, I think it's a lot. I think it's too much. So in the first 5 minutes, I don't know if you remember back to when the beginning of the course we talked about the smack recipe. One of the first things is to get multiple voices in the room in the first 5 minutes. So some type of a question to get the coaches in the room thinking about their experience. So whether that's, I want you guys to write down your biggest challenge as a coach. You know, that's a great question. I want you to write down a coach that was a really positive influence on you. It was a guy Hank Lewis out in Colorado who I stole the term from. He said, who was your mentor and who was your tour mentor when you were growing up?
Oh, that's funny.
And I thought that was awesome. I was like, I'm stealing
good one.
But
that's a good one.
To get the coaches to put themselves in the shoes of the athletes they're coaching. You know, what's something a coach said to you once that you'll never forget? And that can be positive or negative. You know, just something to get them thinking right off the bat. Then the second part goes into, well, who are we? Obviously, a lot of you guys haven't heard of PCA. Here's the commercial, and that can be real quick. And it can be, you don't have to get into the numbers. People don't care about the numbers. I've even put up this slide right here and not even read through them. The who is PCA slide.
Oh, yeah.
So who are we? Take a look at this slide. We're having impact. we're having a huge impact. And we just opened our 18th chapter worldwide. Sometimes if you don't read what's on the slide, it makes the coaches read it more because they're like, oh, wait, you know, I got to pay. It's like the sign that says, do not read this sign. And then people.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm really quick with this. Then the next cell is positive coaching. So, you know, what are your misconceptions? What do you think positive coaching is all about? This is the part where we want to get out of their minds that we're all about fluff and trophies and everybody being happy and singing Kumbaya. We are about competition. And so this cell for we're all about winning and competing. And here's why. Because being positive has power and it has to do with performance, bottom line. You know, everybody wants to be a great coach and have a great experience. But bottom line, you all want your athletes to perform at their best. So we've got people like Barbara Fredrickson and all these national advisory board members. Pretty. So
that's how quickly.
Real fast.
Okay. I got stuff.
I put this slide up and I say, okay, I want you to think about a word to describe one of those people up there. And I want you to, when on the count of 3, I want you to yell it out. And I have everybody, 50 coaches in the room yelling out at the same time, winner, successful, competitor, whatever, hard, whatever the word is.
Yeah.
None of them say cheerleader. None of them say, soft. I mean, these people are just a small sample. Steve Kerr, pretty successful. Yeah, I'd say.
I would say so too.
And guess what? He doesn't scream and throw chairs at his players. So how do you get so successful when you're not screaming and throwing chairs at your players? So just again, keep it flowing, keep it quick. I think that's because the principles that you get into are the most important part of the workshop.
Are going to take a lot of the.
This is just the quick sell. When you get to the negativity, coaches can go on for 10 minutes and talk about why there's so much negativity in sports. Again, I keep that. You did a nice job. You said turn to a partner and share it. And I think that's great. Just have them talk about it. And then when you get to this part, like this is the commercial that Jen wants you to say, like the support you get, the book, like what do you get after the workshop? Sign-in is going to link you into our resources. That's kind of like the sell for PCA.
Yeah, the actual sell of it. Yeah.
And then this is our goal is to have every single child in the United States and around the world, honestly, have a great youth sports experience because we know that there's no better place to learn the life lessons than on the sports field. There's no better place. It's like a character lab. So how can we guarantee that every kid has a great youth sports experience? Well, we're going to teach their coaches to be double goal coaches. And, keep it really simple. Here's what we found. There's 3 things that we found every kid needs. And again, we've gotten this from kids all over the place, coaches, parents, everybody. They need connection. They need to feel like they're improving and they need to be proud of what they're doing. So and this slide here that just has the model, these are the 3 principles that we use in every workshop that we do. We use them for parents. We use them for coaches. We use them for leaders. We use them for kids because we want to keep it really simple. Yeah. And so today we're going to dive into these, blah, 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 whatever it is. Then the Herm Edwards slide is good to take them into the big picture because right now all those coaches are thinking, how do I get these little people to kick a soccer ball into the goal more than the other team? Like that's their only thought. And we want them to actually think about, man, you might be coaching for 20 years. You're making an impact. What impact are you making? So this is kind of like the long term. I call this like the Hollywood portion where they're looking back on their, their movie, their lifetime movie someday about them. What's the kid who's, the coach is ready to retire? What are they going to say at your retirement dinner? What are they going to say when they have to go? Jen, if you have to go, that's okay. I know it's.
Oh, no, I just wanted to stand. I have a hard time.
I agree.
This is bringing them from the now into the future. So however you want them to think about that is the way to do it. And then again, striving to win's number 1. Teaching life lessons is the most important. Ask them. You gave us a couple examples like, teamwork, effort. These are life lessons. Ask the coaches. Okay. And I keep a ball. I bring a ball to my workshops and I just toss it around, a beach ball. And I say, okay, when you catch the ball, yell out a life lesson. And they just toss it back and forth to each other. And they say, time management, resilience, bouncing back from defeat. They're all it's just getting everybody on their feet. Sometimes I'll have them stand up in a circle and toss a ball around to each other and just think about all the life lessons that you've learned. Oh. And when you think about the lessons that sports taught you, nobody ever says, oh, a life lesson it taught me was how to stop a soccer ball on a dime or how to shoot the perfect foul shot. Like you don't remember that. But what you do remember is when you're down, you have enough inside of you to get back up again. You do remember how to pick your head up after you just, lost the game or whatever it is. So that's what we're trying to do. So that's really the purpose of the introduction. Whether you follow the script on the slides or not, we could care less. We want the slides.
Okay. That's what I mean.
We just want it to be a visual aid for people that are visual learners.
Gotcha.
So don't feel
I like that. Whatever you just did through those whole slides, I liked all that. Like,
and that took about 8 minutes, you know, so then you have time to get into your story. Have a coach tell a story. If you have a coach in the room share a story about a positive coach that they had in their life, I mean, sometimes that's a better introduction than any slides you could have. So that's cool. I do. And we talk about how negativity impedes performance. I think slides impede performance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't let them, you know.
Yeah, I can see that.
I need them behind me. That's where I need to have the slides, is behind me. That's
they will.
That's how. Yeah. Okay.
You did really well. When you said, when I say go, turn to a neighbor, like don't do that every time. Okay. People need to have explicit directions. I always joke that I was a 3rd grade teacher for 10 years, and I speak to adults in workshops like I'm talking to a class of 3rd graders. Nobody ever says to me, like, I'm not talking down to them, but I say, turn to a partner. You have 2 minutes to discuss this. Go. Mm-hmm. If you just say, okay, what do you think about this? You get everybody sitting there like, do I share? Do I raise my hand? Do I call it out? Like, you've got to be really specific, and it'll keep the workshop. You know, there's no question. Just like you would do if you were coaching. You wouldn't say like, okay, go grab a soccer ball and kick around. Like, you're going to tell them, here's what I want you to work on. This is what I want you to do. So
the fundamental.
Specific. So I thought that was really good. What else did I say? You did a lot of really, I mean, again, as Jen said, you know, you were spot on. There wasn't anything you said that I was like, ooh, he didn't get that right. Like, you got the language down. You just have to make it your own.
Yeah. And that's what I was like, I think just studying it and all that stuff, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can, because that's not how I sound.
Right.
And I can take the main points, and I think the main points are obviously on the slide. And like you said, just how you went through it right there was kind of what I feel like I want to do, and just be more fluent. Because that makes more sense. If you just tell me to talk like they're K through 5, I can do that all day.
It'll be a better workshop. I've been complimented on how, like, wow, your workshops are so good. And I'm like, because I'm talking to you like you're 8 years old.
Yeah.
And Caydrick, do you have plans to go to any other workshops coming up? Because what I would say, and this is a loaded compliment, Amy Manson is a PCA purist. Mm-hmm. She is very good at, like, I always turn the table to her in a meeting and I'm like, can you explain the growth mindset? Because she can do it better than I can. And sometimes it's a little bit intimidating because she knows it so well that it comes out so naturally for her. So I wonder if maybe diversifying the trainers that you're seeing, because you'll see that not
like Amy. Yeah, well, Amy is definitely the standard.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, that's why I brought
Tyler. Like, if we send him out to see like Tyler Johnson, you're going to see a totally different vibe, and it's probably much more comfortable, much more that what you're used to.
Yeah, well, that's why I bring Amy everywhere I go. Like,
But we don't want you to be Amy.
No, right? I know. I agree 100%, because and it's all about your personality, and that's why what really attracted me to the PCA, the organization itself, was, like I said, this is what I grew up believing, and now it's just distilled and put into a workshop where it's not saying, hey, like, this works because I know it works. It's backed up, right? And that's, like I said, and I don't know, being here in the Colorado Springs region, it was the most stressful coaching season I've ever had, ever. And I, like I said, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of K through 5 kids, like, and that wasn't stressful at all compared to what this year was.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I was going to tell Jen, I've talked with the AD down here at one of the schools in the school district, and I was like, well, I'm going to put you in contact with Jen. So
awesome.
And that was something I was like, I don't know, because I had, like I said, I had that experience, and I was like, well, I was like, I can either get mad or I could give you a solution.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of how I approach all of this, because like I said, I've been a YMCA person. I've been a referee for MAYB. I don't know if you have MAYB out there. But it's kind of like, you know, leagues on the weekends and things like that, like the travel league stuff. But it's bad. It's so bad. Like being a referee or a coach in those places, and it's really disappointing. And I don't know. And I am passionate. I really want to make, you know, an impact for at least one kid. I mean, and if I can get a coach and a parent just to chill out, oh man, I'm on a roll there.
Yeah, but the best way to do that, like telling coaches how to coach or telling parents how to parent, is not going to get them to change.
No, I agree.
But getting them to realize and motivate them to want to change. I mean, I always say, we're not in the education business. We're not educating coaches at workshops. We're motivating them to hear something at a workshop and go, oh wait, this kid is got a lot of potential, but his parents are on his back all the time. How can I coach a kid like that? What do I do with a kid like that? And we're going to give them tools that can help that kid. And then, you know, how do you handle parents? Well, these are a couple tools we have to how to handle. The coaches just want to know, how do I do this? Give me an idea, give me something, because I'm
give them strategies.
The coaches you're coaching with are probably feeling the same thing that you are. So,
oh yeah, it's bad. It's really bad down here, and that was my thing. I was just I want to at least be able to give them the tools, like you're saying. And
they're probably going to walk away with 2 tools. You're gonna be there for 90 minutes, and they're gonna remember 2 things you said. And it'll be something that they got to practice. You know, I mean, I get coaches up. I get coaches to get up and practice giving halftime speeches when we talk about mastery, scoreboard focus versus win at all costs focus versus mastery focused. One of the activities I do in my workshop is have them get up and practice giving a 30-second halftime speech from each point of view. And I've had coaches like 2 months later say, oh my gosh, I had to totally give a speech to my team. And I was like, okay, don't be a win at all costs coach, you know, because it's just, they got to practice it in a workshop, or giving a criticism sandwich, or, you know, going over, and whoever thought to go over and, you know, compliment the parents. I go over every single game after my game, and I go over and I thank and I high five the parents. The ones that I heard cheering, I'll walk over and be like, Mr. Jones, that was awesome. Thank you so much. Your cheering was great. And then the parents are like, well, did you hear me cheering? I was cheering too. You know, it's just funny. Like, they just want to be recognized, and it makes your job a lot more fun.
No, I agree. I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So the next demo that you do, pick a principle, and I want you just to focus on that principle. If you want to do like your intro again for us, just to kind of practice what you
probably will.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. But again, you do it, the more practice you can get. Last thing, because I have to go in a couple minutes too. Okay. If you have coaches around, like I've had people that have done their practice workshops with just their friends. And I mean, I did the same thing when I was practicing to be a trainer. I called like every friend I knew that was coaching, and I was like, hey guys, can you meet me in the basement of my church next Sunday night? Because I have to practice this.
I can do that.
Just because, and I told my friends, like, I'm not official yet, I'm not a trainer, but I just need you guys to help me practice. So
I would like to come up to see you, Jen.
I'm only in Denver, so it's not that bad.
Oh, you're in Denver? Okay.
Yeah, I'm in Denver.
Yeah, then I mean, I like that's time I just want to practice, like I said, just what Kelly was saying. I want to get in front of some people.
Like you and I can talk offline once we hang up. Let's do the outside. I'll come to see Springs so that I can start to meet with some of those 80s.
Yeah, that they need it. So, and I'll because like I didn't have your email at that time. I did ask Amy for it, but I already sent it and they were interested.